It's already on Facebook.
There it is then.
All right. Learning track. Learning track to beat. Yeah. What do you think, Deke?
I mean, I can record myself. I'm not actually a very good vocal percussionist. I'm like adequate. No, seriously, no. Like people who are great sound just like drums, and their patterns are much more complex and whatever. The thing is, we don't notate vocal percussion in contemporary acapella because people who do it, each person has their own style. And honestly, like how many drummers can actually read drum notation for that matter? Yeah, give them a piece of music. Right? So, generally speaking, even if we have a big choir and like all people will learn their parts, and then you just take someone who's good at it and they kind of do their thing, if that makes sense. Because since they're not aligned with anyone else specifically other than the tempo, they give it their own flavor and they express it in their own way. So yeah.
And
But
Aaron Dale has done some arrangements and stuff, of course, has done that have a notated beatbox line. But then he works directly with the person doing the beatboxing because they maybe don't have the skill level, and he just helps them adjust. And it's a starting point because we are so music-driven, but you certainly could have your own. Give it a try. Go for it. All right, so this panel discussion is called Elements of the Feeling Arrangement. And we have some very esteemed participants today, so I'd like to introduce them to you. First, right here to my left is Cammy. I can't wait! Oh my gosh! Corinna Garriock. Corinna. I know, my brain is the deep level of fog in here right now. Corinna Garriock is a music judge. Can you?
It's been an amazing weekend, and
yeah, so far. And I think that I attached, so I don't really know any other names right now. Corinna Garriock, of course, is Queen with Martini, and also a music judge and an arranger, and we're very excited to have her input today. And then we have Mr. Arns, Jimmy Arns. Seven-time champion Melodiers Chorus, lifelong musician, amazing organist, church musician, teacher. I could go on and go on. Ranger. Oh, that! Are we talking about arrangement? Mr. Deke Sharon, you've heard his introduction.
I have no problem on the words.
I don't know, somebody could knit one for him, right? Okay. And Ms. Sharon Babb. She's the champion director. She is the category specialist for the music category, the best category. And then been a director and a teacher, high school principal for many years, administrator, English teacher, so watch your vocabulary. And you will learn words you have never heard before.
I don't have any words today at all.
Exactly my situation. So our plan is we've got some guiding questions I'm going to throw out to all of our panel members, and they're going to interact with one another and also with you. Keeping in mind, of course, that we live in kind of two separate worlds. Here in Sweet Adelines, we have our contest barbershop arrangements, and they have requirements. And then we also have all the other music that we sing. So we're going to be talking about the whole gamut, and hopefully y'all will clarify when you're referring to some specificity. Help me, Sharon. Specificity to those particular two buckets that we live in. Yeah? You with me on that? Yes. All right, good. Okay. So I'm going to start out right now with the big one. Are you ready?
No.
They're all kind of big. By the way, at the end, when we're finished with our little guiding test questions that we're going to use this morning, we definitely want your question, and we're definitely going to leave time for that. So please take some notes and be prepared to jump in with your questions. Okay, the first one is, why do we hear so many performances in Sweet Adelines of the same arrangement? Anybody want to go first? Jump in forward.
There are some arrangers who understand the barbershop style so well and understand that the structure of a song, especially songs written for a certain period of time, had the right kind of feeling to tie to the heartbeat of the listener, that the stanzas were made of so many measures, for example, and that each stanza grew in importance as it went along. And they know how to do bridges that are very, very interesting and very delicate as well. And those things stand up well over time. On the website for this particular class, you'll find an analysis of several songs that I did so you could see what structure looks like and what rhyme scheme looks like. And those songs that are repeated very often come very close to the way we like stories to be told, with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And as Aristotle said, you've got to tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. And in a good barbershop song, that's what you have. An introduction and several verses that tell you what this layout of the story is, and a bridge that then gives you some variety and some relief from that story, and then finally another verse that actually has more flamboyance in it, more embellishment, and just as you're running out of breath, the best chords in the world. And so that sort of formulaic kind of structure tends to get repeated. What gets rewarded gets repeated, and that's what's often rewarded in contests.
I think on the flip side of that, the really strong stuff is what we are attracted to, that tells the story, so we Sharon's talking about it. On the other side, sometimes I think we have an inventory issue. We need more contestable things to sing, and I also think we have an education issue with our performers so that they understand why they're choosing what they're choosing. What is barbershop? What are the hallmarks of this style? And understanding what the panel is looking for. And in some ways, I wish our contestants were a little less fearful of going outside of that box. You know, screw the judges. Just sing. Yeah, Sharon's going to put up my JPR.
That's the judge's part.
Corinna, how do you tell that I don't mean that in a bad way, but what I mean is, I would love it if our contestants were a little bolder with what they choose, and we'll let you know if we think it's a barbershop or not. You know, it's not going to cost you 20 points or anything like that. You're going to get some comments and some feedback that says, you know, these elements of this arrangement are strong in the style, and these are the elements where it's maybe weaker in the style, or we need to shore up this part of the arrangement, or the pattern goes on for like miles and miles, and the melody's obscured, or...
But isn't it true, though, that if maybe the structure or even some of the chord choices that either come with the song or the arrangement put on, and we were talking about this yesterday, you know, we have our 11 chords, but every now and then, you know, it's good to add, you know, cayenne pepper to your strawberry shake.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know as an arranger, every now and then I find beauty in certain chords where maybe they're not one of our 11, and if done well, and they connect to the listener and the audience and they're moved, like you were saying this morning, then I think we've made a good statement as a performer and fulfilled what I assume the music category is. I think we're consumed with one of those elements that Deke was talking about this morning, fear. When we go to choose music, or maybe we can add a fifth one, stymie. You know, we get stuck and not sure where to turn to. And so I think, and I love how Sharon said it, you know, what gets rewarded gets repeated. And so that's why we do hear a lot of the same songs. But doesn't that happen outside of our art form as well? Well, you know, songs that just connect to an audience from popular artists get repeated, they endure the test of time, and they're still hanging around now 50 years later or 2 years later.
So there's sort of two sides of the coin, yeah.
Yeah, you know, happy Pharrell, all this, and then you have some Macarena.
But
yeah.
yes, you also I think
I'm not shooting darts here, but
you're absolutely right. There are hits, and I think there's a reason that there are hits, and the classics are the classics, and the tried and true is the tried and true. The problem is, I think in this case, where you have the fundamental nature of people who want to push the boundaries and create art that color outside the lines, like all the great musicians did through time, like all great artists do. And yet, you have, on the other hand, the need to preserve a particular style and rules and judges who are there to say, "Oop, you're outside the lines." Now, if the society, and this is true of all barbershop organizations and whatnot, if the focus of groups is to sit there and try to balance and juggle the two, and they're not so worried about judging, you're going to see more people coloring outside the lines. The thing that I see within the society, I don't have an answer, and there's no disrespect with which I make the statement. The number one greatest goal as a Sweet Adelines or a Barbershop Comedy Society or Comedy Incorporated is to get that gold medal. So if your goal is, but if I color outside the lines, I'm not going to stay on this track, people are going to choose safety over risk. And so it's not blaming the judges, it's not blaming the society, all the stuff. The question is, where can that risk be safely taken before it's too late? Because if it happens on the concert stage, they got docked those 5 points. Wow, you guys would have gone through. You would have won this thing if you didn't cross that line. That's the fear. That isn't just a fear of performing with emotion. It's a fear of literally. Yeah, and then the arranger has jeopardized the group's ability to present themselves as the pinnacle of this particular form. And the other thing to know is most pioneering musicians in any form stay outside of the award structure. So Elvis Costello lost the best new artist Grammy to A Taste of Honey with their song Boogie Oogie Oogie. Led Zeppelin never won a Grammy. It's often the case that people, and also you get these people who, like Nat King Cole won a Grammy posthumously when his daughter sang the duet with him, right?
Yeah.
So that's such a challenge for us in the barbershop style to reward excellence as it's happening while it's still savoring what barbershop is and pushing boundaries but not crossing lines. Like, I don't have the answer. I'm just letting you know that's the problem. It's doubly difficult.
You know, and I think we're getting there, where we're on that journey where we are. And I mean, there are no better experts about that than these two women here, because they're judges. But I think we're at the point where we're now starting to explore, you know, what's a better way to say it? Losing up the parameters of what we think is material for a contest. And another thing we have to keep in mind, a contest for most of us is a once-a-year event, if even that. And it's 2 songs out of our lives, and we perform in communities, and we put on shows, and we sing at holidays, and we sing at, you know, birthdays, and we sing at funerals, and there's where, you know, there's where what we do has impact. But once a year we have a contest, and, you know, sometimes you need to know the rule book, but if you're just going by this is my opinion only, if you go by just what's in the rule book, you get restricted, you get a little, it fears that you stick to what Sharon said, what's rewarded gets, or what's repeated gets rewarded, or what's rewarded gets repeated. Yeah.
Well, here's my suggestion, and I've been making this to all barbershop organizations for a few years, and nobody's taken me up on it yet, but hopefully one day. If we want to, if people in the societies are so goal and award oriented, we need to reward some goals that are not specifically concert stage. So imagine if you could get a gold medal for the most views of all of your videos within a specific calendar year, January 1st to December 31st. Most video views, you get a gold medal. Another gold medal goes to the chorus or the quartet. Well, it would be the chorus in the case of the most new members. That's what we want to do, right? We want to spread this, right?
Right.
Which chorus last year? Do you guys know within your?
The regions track that data.
Yeah.
Within the regions, there are awards, but not.
Yeah. But can you? But what if the goal was we're going to go on this year? We want to get the gold medal for proselytizing, for membership growth. And then another one, the third one, would be a gold medal for the group that performs for the most people, most tickets sold, largest audiences, January 1st to December 1st, keep track, we performed at this thing, and then these many people, and I'm not, like, this is my, like, it needs to be polished, but if those were also goals that people are going for, here's the thing, you've got B and C level choruses and quartets that know that they're never going to win that crown, they're realistically, but what if they help move things forward in these other ways? They could potentially.
We're so entertaining that they can win the most views on YouTube.
Yeah, right. And setting new goals to make it, and maybe there's one within arranging as well, and maybe it's like, and it's a judges, you know, it's the music category sets up an award for arrangement that pushes the boundaries and yet doesn't, and yet moves our society. And you guys you look at all the arrangements that go in, people send in their arrangements, and then you just say like, and this is our new goal, and then all of these groups are going to say, rather than singing the same songs, they'll be like, ooh, we want a piece of that cutting edge. What won the Grammy this year within the music category for most
No, I know
innovative?
we've been talking about arrangements that are by definition fit the music category. But recently, with the addition of the open division and the change in the performance package, having only one barbershop contest song in there, that has opened up just a big doorway for creativity for arrangers to explore other kinds of vocal arranging other than what's by regulation, let's call it that, and I'm not saying with any kind of apology, a barbershop song. The performance package, one barbershop song, and the rest of your 12 to 15 minutes, you can go to town with any kind of vocal style we want. Open division, the same thing.
Amazing.
So, and I say this with all respect to any other organizations, but and we were talking about this in the class yesterday. What Sweet Adelines have, I think we came up with the word tapas. We have a barbershop song in the finals, you know, we have that plate, and then we have, you know, something that's a doo-wop and with a beatbox, and then we might even have a Beyonce song or a Pink song. And all different kinds of flavors and dishes. Where in other barbershop organizations, all of those are into one pot and it's a stew.
That's right. Yeah, that was my analogy. It was basically Barbershop Harmony Society. Their rules for barbershop are a little wider, but then everything you're doing on the contest stage has to be contestable. Whereas within the Sweet Adelines organization, the barbershop style, those songs themselves are harmonically more constrained, but the overall contest package allows for far more variety
and freedom.
And freedom. So
it's very much like figure skating, at least the way figure skating was, with required figures, where you had to be very precise in the style. In the barbershop, the big 3-ring chords, for example, have to be there because acoustically, that's what raises the hairs on the back of your neck, for example, and the structure. And the fact that there's a build to a destination in a barbershop song. Many of the songs now that are sort of shoehorned into barbershop style, a lot of Broadway tunes are very wordy and have no repeated reprisals of a chorus, no hook that you can hang on to, for example. And so they just go on and on and on in words. And the human brain is not made to just catch everything as it goes.
Thorough composed.
That's right. But at least there are required figures in the open division, and then there's also freestyle, which takes into account what Jim was telling us as well. And I think, of course, my personal dream is that eventually the judging will sort of morph into judging the whole thing, but still including the requirement that there be a barbershop piece within it. Right now, they're judged separately and scored separately as well. But at least we are trying these days to reward people's creativity, their communication, all the things that go into open division as well. And it's certainly, it's a journey. When we first started doing performance packages with choruses and then moved into quartets and then moved into choruses, they weren't really entertainment packages. They were just more competition songs. But now today the arrangers are becoming more creative, and frankly, the better that you get, the more risks that you can take with your music. I don't have to tell you that. The highest achieving choruses are those who know the required figures. They have baked the cake, and then they put the icing of these color chords and some modern things that say, gosh, we never thought about doing that before. So you can get rewarded for that, but you got to have the cake baked first. You got to have the required figures.
And here's one last thought that I've had, and I spoke in the Barbershop Harmony Society. I wish they would get together 4 black guys to sing barbershop the way it was sung in 1890. I mean, yeah, and so as arrangers, if you're looking for inspiration, you don't necessarily just have to look at barbershop from the past 10 years. You can listen to recordings from 1910 or 1940 and what was going on there. And I don't think people in the music category could complain because it's still barbershop, and what you're going to find is more call and response. You're going to find triads. You're going to find like some moments that may be like, wow, is that, it almost sounds like early gospel harmony stuff, but that's barbershop. Like that's what it was. And so the inspiration doesn't only have to be like running with the front of the pack. What's going on up here? Let's go back. We've got 100 years of songs, musical choices, creativity, and then maybe even before the contest, you can contact them and just let them know, like, I heard this recording, I don't think anybody's listened to it in 50 years, but this old record I found in a record store, listen to what was going on there. Like, is this okay? And they'll say, like, yeah, we're preserving the style. Like, look at this, what's going on here.
I think some of the Mills Brothers albums and music are very much like that, too. And
I love the Mills Brothers.
The Mills Brothers have that same quality.
Yeah.
Related, I grew up in a home that was shed. Yeah, we basically had our piano on the floor up front. That's the tradition. My grandpa was a barbershopper back in the day. Woodshop. So you sit there, you spend an hour figuring out the chords to a particular song, but then you had a blast figuring it out and then singing it. I mean, you probably would not put that on the contest stage today and have it, but it's important. I think both. I mean, from your own. I don't know how you would incorporate it in Sweet Adelines, but I feel like it's a part of the barbershop history that's missing.
Well, woodshedding and tag singing anyway,
Yeah.
at the very least, are wonderful ear training and listening skill building moments, and they're just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun to do. Someone sings a melody and you try and work. Do we all know the definition of the term woodshed? Because I don't know, some are not sure about that. Ad-libbing around a melody line, trying to make your part fit in, like we were talking at the arranger class. Usually the bass will try and find the roots, and it's kind of apparent to, the bass is kind of here, find roots and fits in the chord. The rest of the tenor goes, lightly above the melody, and then, like we were saying, and the baritones get what's left over, sitting way in the back of the refrigerator, but someone's got to sing those notes.
But you know what, that would actually, a light went off the top of my head. Right now, the competition stages are like the Michelin 3-star restaurants, right? So you've got Thomas Keller, and he's out there, and he spent all this time developing these recipes, and you go in, and the critics sit down, and they listen, they eat each dish, and it's been perfected and honed. But we also like watching Iron Chef. You got these guys going in, they have no idea what the ingredients are going to be, and they're told, you have to, boom. So you could start a woodshedding competition or event where it's like, you got 4 people together, this is the quartet, okay, we're going to hand you a melody, you've never heard of this song before. We went through and we found this old songbook. I went in Tufts Library when I was in college, I found this song called Beer, Glorious Beer, and then arranged it. And it was literally just the melody, there were no chords there, whatever, and I was like, this goes 1 5 1 5, great, fine, whatever. And it was so much fun to sing, and the guys still like get together, and it feels like all the time, like here's a song you've never heard, and then quartet's like, go, you've got a half an hour, an hour.
Figure something out.
How fun would that be?
Yeah.
And that's barbershop.
I just wanted to add that when you said you're from a woodshedding tradition, I come out of the shape note singing tradition.
Oh, wow.
And it's sort of interesting that over the years, people, and shape notes, for those of you that have never seen an old hymnal, the notes on the staffs would not have black dots, but some would be triangles, some would be squares. They'd have all kinds of formations that told you how to intone that note and how to balance it so that you could make instruments of your own voices as well, which is the basics of barbershop and woodshedding too. And we've lost a lot of that business because we used to learn completely by ear. We didn't have printed music as well. And shape note singing, woodshedding, all of those kinds of things are in the required figures. Here's how we do it. We are an ear, a musical form, something where we have to tune to each other without instrumentation. And Mozart would be very proud of us.
That helps deepen your theoretical knowledge of music in general. It would be awesome.
It just develops your ear and it's fun.
It would be awesome to be able to do that. I'm a music teacher. It would be wonderful to be able to do that with my kids.
Put it on your final exam.
Is take a melody and improvise a parallel third above it. I mean, that Simon and Garfunkel stuff. That was my first moment at summer camp. Hearing someone just improvise, it was like a shaft of light around the fire. Yeah.
Just a comment about that, the inventory of music that Corinna was talking about and why
you know, we tend to go to the songs that get rewarded, we tend to sing those over and again. I think it's incumbent upon a lot of us as performers to find music that isn't being sung, find songs from whatever tradition, but especially for if you want contestable barbershop, strictly arranged barbershop songs, to find music that's out there that hasn't been done, and commission arrangers to do them for you. We've done that before, and it helps put new music out there as well and build our inventory. I think we sit around a lot and wait for our arrangers to just, you know, bring forth
something out, right.
Yeah, and okay, and then you hear somebody else singing, and you sing. No, find your own music. Get somebody to arrange it for you and build the inventory.
And 90% of the time that we arrange is for a specific group, right? Jim arranges for the Melodiers, but people come up to you and say, hey, could you do this chart?
Yeah, they do what I thought, I do that.
That's how it gets done. That's how the inventory gets bigger. And original songwriting, that would be good too.
Couple comments. Deke, you talked about 100 years of music. I mean, one thing that I had certainly learned over 2 years in the IMAP is the Great American Songbook is vast. And there are so many great undiscovered songs with good form and the right lyrics and great stories, all the things that you music judges want to hear that just need to be put out there. You know, arranger needs to find them, you know, I'm happy to arrange them.
We certainly have the resources to do that.
But the other thing is, I hope the judging community would be open to them. You know, they're not, I mean, I've done stuff with the IMAP that I would be happy to put out there for any chorus or quartet that wants to do it at a regional contest. They're not wow songs that are going to break new ground. They're just good, solid barbershop songs. You know, if we put them out there, well, you judge them. And Corinna, you talked at the beginning about how you might say on a score sheet, you know, that this element of the arrangement might be improved, et cetera, et cetera. The arrangement's only 30% of the category. I mean, would you really make those kinds of detailed comments? And it leads into my other point. What I would love to see going forward is a lot more dialogue between the IMAP community and the music judges. I think we need to be talking a lot more because we want to do that stuff. We want to hear your concerns about keeping the style and doing everything right, but I think there needs to be a lot more dialogue in terms of hearing our concerns that we want to be creative, we want to move the style forward, and so I hope there can be more sessions like this where the arrangers and the music judges could really talk about this.
I also suggest that the arrangers and the directors who are buying the arrangements who want to know this is new stuff, but we're on sort of slippery ground here. If you could have your section leaders or a quartet make just a track of the thing and send the chart to any judge, we can tell you that. I get letters every day that ask about the contestability of music. And if I can see the chart, not even have the track, but it really helps sometimes to have either a learning track or section leaders. That way you haven't invested in the whole chorus learning something if it's too risky. We can at least tell you that you're right about that communication. We need more of it.
Can I plant one last seed? And this is for you guys as arrangers. I think there's this perception that the classical songs, the themes of the classical songs, the topics are both timeless but a little bit powerful. They're not necessarily contemporary and meaningful and deep and rich and but here's the thing. There are so many songs from yesteryear that when sung in a contemporary context take on an entirely different meaning. I don't know how many of you have any Lennox's first solo album called Diva with Walking on Broken Glass on it. The last song on that album is called Keep Young and Beautiful, and it's from like the 1930s. And it goes, keep young and beautiful, into beautiful, keep young and beautiful, if you want to be loved. Oh, what? Yes. And the whole song is all, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And she sings the whole thing. There's a video of it online, and she sings the entire song. This is a song at the time, and it's all about you know, do your hair the right way and whatever if you want to be loved. And now you sing that song now, and it's like, and you want a viral video? Sing that. Or here's another one. Burt Bacharach's Wives and Lovers, Lena Horne singing. Basically, you better be running to the door with a nightie on when your husband comes home from work, or he's going to have an affair with the secretary, and it's your fault. Yeah. And that song's from the 60s. So go looking for songs that when sung now say something powerful. And then you could sing it with like 11 chords, you could sing it with 3 chords, and people would be, boom, right? So there's meaning in music. Look for that meaning. And it's not just
One point to piggyback on what he's saying so well, that the most popular ballad now that we hear in competition is "If I Give My Heart to You." Okay? Countless times over and over. But I want you to know that originally Doris Day sang that in an upbeat kind of, "If I give my heart to you." If you listen to her style of singing, that kind of thing, who knew that an arranger could take it and make it into a beautiful rubato piece as well? So there's potential in all kinds of songs like that.
You know, another one that's like that is Who's Sour Now?
Yeah.
Well, we hear it as an uptune all the time in our contests, right? And it was originally put into the market as a talent. Connie Francis.
Pauline, I just wanted to, for those of you that might not have heard, to remind us, if one of our international committees is going to do part of the work for you and give you a list of all the public domain songs that would be workable for us. Now, certainly you could look beyond 1923, but that's when you have to start getting music clearances. But once those are out there, performers, you can choose the melody and the message that you love and ask an arranger to arrange it for you. So we're going to help you to a certain degree, and then we're going to ask you to help all of us and help yourself and ask those arrangers to arrange it, and then we're going to start blossoming and hearing all these different songs in contests. So we have to, we're going to start the ball rolling and then hand it off to you, and then we're going to have the songwriting contest and come up with a bunch of new ones as well. So
I'm just interested to know in the room here, how many are at any degree of proficiency arrangers in the room?
Wow.
Wow. It's great to have you all here.
one last thought, jumping on the public domain thing. When you have a public domain song you're arranging, you can do anything you want with it that you like. There was one amazing, it was a Canadian group that it went back and forth between like America the Beautiful or something like that, and a Requiem. And it was a statement about the Iraq War, something like that, and it was riveting. You felt like you were hearing a piece of work, like something was saying something very powerful about something that's going on in contemporary life, and war, and sadness, and national pride, and whatever. Like, you guys, you can create pastiches and weave songs together and do mashups and all this stuff within barbershop songs to say something about now, about you.
I think that the average Sweet Adeline doesn't feel like she's an artist who can envision that. And so even the average quartet singer in Sweet Adeline, even the highest level quartet singers in Sweet Adeline, don't feel confident in their ability to hear a melody and envision it in a different way, in an artistic way, to ask their arranger to do it. So I don't know what the answer to that is, other than to continue to educate ourselves and to continue to empower ourselves to bring out the artists within, homemakers, teachers, nurses, etc., whoever we are, make our experience in Sweet Adelines about blossoming that art and empowering that feeling of, I'm going to try the suggestion and don't laugh at me, kind of thing.
But you know, Jenny, if that's, and I would tend to agree with what you're saying. So with all those hands that went up in the room, maybe it's a little more incumbent on us, you know, it's a chicken or the egg kind of thing. With what Paula said about coming out with this list of public domain songs, so we don't have to go through all the clearance stuff and all that. Maybe it's a little more incumbent on us to maybe be, you know, whichever side you want to talk about, the chicken or the egg, but to get the ball rolling as arrangers. So we don't just rely on a request from someone who might not ever make it to an arranger. Did I state that clearly enough? So we got to kind of vow to one another that when the list comes out, we start doing it in the songwriting contest to get involved in that. At the very least, try.
the thing is, the arranger needs a client. The arranger needs someone who's going to perform the piece. Otherwise, it just goes into the vault, it gets filed, and then you see the title, and you don't know anything about the song. So I think it's the 1-0 thing. If you can get the arrangement performed, then it'll pick up. That's how we find arrangements, right? We hear people, we hear groups, we're on YouTube, wherever we are, but it needs to be sung. think creative
True, true.
inventory is
I
part of it.
yeah, I mean, I
We
have
also need to
several
find-
arrangements I've done that are still sitting in my,
Right.
on my computer.
I like
What
what
do you-
BHS does, they debut their arrangements at their conference, that's
Yeah.
kinda cool. Like, we could do some of that too.
And we have done that.
Arrange
Oh, like
for
a
the year,
session
we're
and-
looking at that,
okay.
yeah, at the beginning of the session, have a.
We've done it before, and we also used to have something called an Arranger Showcase. Do you remember that, an Arranger Showcase at International?
It was the
And then we need to do that.
If I could
Yeah.
ask everyone,
Oh, it's so helpful.
if I could just ask everyone to speak one, there are people in the back of the room that are trying to hear all of this awesome energy of conversation, so can we just go one at a time?
I want
So,
to say, can I say one
yeah,
more
wrap
thing?
up your thoughts.
Just, I will comment on the arrangement. I need to comment on the arrangement. It's only 30% of my category, but if there are places where it's strong in the barbershop style, I need to comment on that. If there are places where it can be short up, I need to comment on that. And the reason I need to do that is to educate people on what the music category is, because I think it's a big mystery, right? That 30% to a lot of our singers is a mystery. And that's what I see my role as. Just because I write something doesn't mean I did anything with your score. I just want you to know that the barbershop style is essentially this, and this is straying a little. And sometimes I write elegant use of weaker, chords to express the intent of the song or something like that. Sometimes I'll write things like that. You are outside the line, but I like it.
Corinna, but how does that information get back to the person who arranged the song? That's great that the contestant gets it on the score sheet. How do we hear that?
You don't, yeah, you don't. That's not what your question was. You asked me if I would really write it, and I
Yeah.
would, and I do. Yeah.
Jan.
I think there are tons of songs out there that are not being sung. When we say, why do we hear the same things over and over again? I think sometimes as contestants, we pick like you say, we pick what we've heard, we pick what we know somebody won with or did well with, and we don't look at what's even the published music of Sweet Adelines. There's a wealth of wonderful stuff there, or we kind of tend to stay with these 6 arrangers whose names we've heard, and we go to their list and see what's there when there are, I don't know, how many members, I don't know, how many members in IMAC that have wonderful arrangements that nobody's ever even looked at, that could be good contest possibilities.
We have a couple more questions in the back. Can you hang on to your thought, please? Because we do want to take your question. And I want to kind of direct a sort of a ping pong off what you're saying right now, and just talk a little bit about those top level performers. The ones that are busting the rules a little bit, that we're emulating. Can you all share your thoughts on what are the things we should take away from those experiences of the more out-of-the-box arrangements that are being performed and receiving rewards? What can we take away and what should we not take away or emulate or try to imitate in those top-level performances, challenging arrangements?
All of this is at the forefront of my mind all the time. And because I'm friends with them, I have a deep respect for GQ, who I think are the most forward-thinking of any barbershop group, male, female, and mixed, out there. They are deep lovers of barbershop, but they are not keeping both feet behind the line. And they move within different styles, and they're constantly thinking about, number one, what's truthful to them? What music works for them? What do they have to say that when they sing it makes them well up with tears, makes them feel like they're speaking the truth to the world? And number two, what's going to be compelling to the world? What's going to be interesting? And how can they get their music out there with videos and with performances and reach people? And they've got lightning in a bottle in that sense. They've had multiple songs get out there and that are exciting, and they think a lot about this. They really care about this, and they do very much want their crowns. There's no question. But that's not the only thing they're trying to do, and it's doing them both. And I talked to other like auxiliary harmonizers. So like, we won chorus barbershop harmony champions, great. So now we got 2 years. We can't this year. We're exploring. We're taking chances and risks. Or there was a Swedish group. One of the guys had laryngitis when it was time for them to they couldn't compete because of laryngitis. So I said, you guys have just been given a gift. You have no idea. The monkey's off your back. take this year and try things and explore and make videos and push the boundaries and go and color outside the lines. And you'll learn what works and what doesn't work. So I think more of that is really beneficial. And then what you're doing is you're both respecting barbershop, because they're gonna come back. It's the hero's journey, right? Hobbit has to go away from home, get the ring, come home. Right? And then, I mean, that's Joseph Campbell. It's all that. You need, I think, sometimes to go outside barbershop to be able to come back to barbershop with new understanding and perspective and respect. And I mean that is for arrangers as well as for groups.
Sharon, Jim, Corinna, do you have anything to add to that discussion about emulating the out-of-box performances?
But certainly, our highest achieving choruses these days have developed the ranges of the bass clef, so that there's a stretch in the bass and baritone voices that we never used to have. And when we talk about sort of the differences, the fact that they can sing very high chords and still without a whole lot of muscle shows us that the vocal development has increased over the years, because we used to have very low ranges for both the bass and the treble, and now arrangers are arranging very high tenors, which puts the baritone in a very high position as well. So from a sound standpoint, what I'm hearing is more and better vocal production along the way. We had 44 choruses this last spring in regional that scored at the A level, which is one of the highest numbers that we've ever had, and only 14 at the D level. So that tells you that the progress is upward, and there were more B's and A's than there were in C's and D's, which should tell us that the vocal production and the fact that we're trying to individually take amateur singers and bring them to a higher level of vocal stamina, vocal energy, and accuracy is showing up in the scoring. And even at our highest levels, that the vocal production goes on so they can sing the kinds of challenging things that arrangers are putting out these days. My only quarrel with some new arrangements, they have too many key changes, and you have to have 3 lungs to get through them. Because after all, we are sort of restricted by our anatomy. And when you're asked to do 6 key changes, every time a key change comes, it's another breath deficit, for example. And
Triple
usually,
stock cow every 4 measures.
the triple stock cows coming your way. And then just a personal thing, but some of our best arrangements end with a very high chord on a diphthong, for example. And there's trouble ahead when that happens. I'm trying to answer your question.
No, definitely touching on the
I know as an arranger, and I arrange 80% of my arranging is done for my own chorus. And if you've heard some of my arrangements, you know I color outside the lines. But I don't color all over the page, but I go outside of the lines. I'm thinking, you know, I don't know how many of you have heard our version of Grown Accustomed to His Face. And, you know, the tag, I'm not going to go into the detail on what the chords were and make it an analytical moment, but they're not one of our 11. There's a whole phrase that's just peppered with it. And music judges have commented on the beauty of it. I've never once had them say, this is not one of our 11 chords. And I just whispered to Corinna here just earlier, someone had said something that made a light bulb go off. I thought, you know, we are in the process of being progressive and stretching. Are we not? The intention of the organization, or just natural progression, is stretching our usage of chords and voicing and key changes and arranging devices. I'm saying devices in a good way, not negative way. I don't know, am I having a point here? I just know from experience that, and I'm going to go back to just a simple thing called chord and choice of chords as arrangers that way. It's not always level applicable, because a note is a note that your singers do. Now there's tuning of chords and balance and all that kind of thing, but I still don't have a point, but there's some information.
You're saying do a good job, guys. Do a good job.
I think the obligation, too, of our highest level performers to introduce new material. Because that is, I know our C-level groups can't sing what our A-level groups are singing, but sometimes it can be modified, but at least it gives you an idea of what kind of music is out there, and it expands the repertoire.
It expands the repertoire for the ones at the top who can handle it. And so I think there's a real need for interesting, accessible contest music for the rest of us.
And here's the thing, it's a bit of an arms race. Lower chords, higher chords, more key changes, big wall of sound, go, 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 go. But like I was saying an hour ago, that's not what people go to hear music for. And your C-level chorus can be the ones that reach the most people because they sing 4 chords, 5 chords, but they sing from the heart. As arrangers, as directors, as musicians, you should be looking for music that is yours, that says something that means something to you. And you definitely want whiz-bang moments. You want moments where you're expanding out and you're showing what your group can do. But a great arrangement is not one that does more than anybody else can do. It's an arrangement that shows your group's strengths and downplays your weaknesses, right?
Well, and I agree with what Carol's saying. There are arrangements out there, and no arrangers need to be mentioned, that where very few can sing those arrangements, because every device in the world is in there, and it's about the arrangement. In fact, it might even be about those type of arrangers. When we were talking about this in our class yesterday, it's not about the arrangement, it's not about the arrangers, it's about the connection of the performer to the audience.
Right.
And if you really do strip barbershop down, and we go back to 1, 4, 5, as far as position in a chord and what in a scale, and what chords ring the most. I mean, we didn't set out in barbershop with Pythagorean tuning to say, let's do this and it will ring. It was the natural evolution of adjusting to make the signs of overtones appear. And they didn't even know what they were doing. They enjoyed it. It just felt good and it rang. And we can do it on the 3 big chords. We know what they are: tonic chords, dominant ninths, dominant sevenths.
That's why every one of us is here, because it feels good when we
Right. You know when you're on those types, and it's not a restricting thing. There's a lot of music that's just based on 3 chords, some less than that.
Could you all talk to our group about how you, as arrangers, tailor your music, or what is your thought process when you are creating something specifically for a group or for the group that you arrange for most often? Jim, can you start us off? What's your thought process?
Some of them I would tend to say obvious things, like range of the group, whether it's my own or for somebody else, especially when it's for somebody else. I do ask a lot of questions, the range of the different voice parts. It's even, I think, a little more critical if it's a custom arrangement for a quartet, because you're the whole section. With my own course, I know, and I'm really going down Geek Street here, but we did a whole performance package.
Some geeks in the room.
Years ago, it's
They're geeks here. Yeah.
But there are certain chords and certain voicings of chords that I avoid with the melodiers, just because they're not, they're not the ones that really work well in our wheelhouse. You know what I'm talking about when I say the chopstick 7th, where it's 5, 3, 7, and root up at the top. I try to avoid those at all costs with my course, because we don't handle them as well as other voicings of the dominant 7th. Just to be there's an example of a specificity in the range, vocal capabilities, all kinds of things like that. Personality, yeah. Does it fit the image of the group? Does the song fit the image? That suitability to performer line, that's a pretty, I would think, an all-encompassing kind of place to write a lot of, not lots of information, but different kinds of information. Does it fit the skill level? Does it fit the personality? Does it fit the image of any chorus or quartet?
Skill level is really important, because if you're writing for A, then you get to do more, and it's not about the bells and whistles, but you get to display more of the skill set to create the connection, right? And if you're working with C or B, then you're going to make some different choices in the embellishments and the voicings, and just to make sure they're showcasing what they're best at. How about you, then? Steve?
I think, going back to my thesis in music being communication, when you're arranging a song for the group, you're custom tailoring something that will look good on them. And a complexity is almost beside the point. There are times, like we were talking about yesterday, Take 6's Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem, the first half of it they sing in unison, 6 guys in unison, and then when they hit Rocket's Red Glare, it's piano the whole way, and they remain quiet, and it just bursts into harmony, and less is more. Like, I think we're always looking to boom, 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 throw all this stuff on there, and I make the point to arrangers all the time, it's never about you, it's about this connection with the audience. And so the arrangements that are almost unsingable, that just have all these bells and whistles in them, are not necessarily about the group and about the moment and about speaking truth. And triads are really beautiful, but ultimately, like, who are your singers? What do they have to express? What are they going through? Where are you from? If I was directing a group from the South, I'd take a good long look at some Civil War, because race is such an issue in our country. And singing a song like When Johnny Comes Marching Home, but maybe weaving in some other pieces of songs from the era, or maybe some even civil rights era quotes and stuff like that. You could create a piece of music that is Pulitzer Prize worthy with a Sweet Adelines, right? And it has nothing to do with chopstick sounds, right? It has nothing to do with that. Or competition.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you could make it absolutely work in a competitive setting. You could do it with 11 chords. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's finding the message and finding that marriage of the group and the song and the moment and the meaning. Then the music theory gets you there. But the music theory is not the point. It's never been the point. It can't be the point. Cannot be the point of barbershop. Because no one will come to hear a concert and be like, oh wow, don't you love that ninth chord, woo! Yeah, I mean, well, music nerds will, but it's not. I like it.
The arranging I do is sort of custom for intros and tags, probably because of my short attention span. But I really enjoy trying to adjust an intro or a tag to the vocal capabilities of usually quartets who need some adjustment to these kinds of things. And since I'm really into lyrics, I like also to tie something from the beginning to something at the end. And then my major concern is making sure that I'm in the clock of the chords and that the progressions are natural as well. So that's where I am with that.
Yes.
So I have sort of a comment. I'm not sure it's a question. We'll find out. But there was a comment earlier made by, I don't know your name, in the black and white. Oh, okay, Sharon. So I think, Sharon, you were saying something about not being able to hear other things, or does that make sense? Like not hearing a beatbox or not hearing, and how do you go about doing that? I think it's just wake up to the sound that is all around you all the time. For me, I'm inspired by the sound of my footsteps, the sound of this bag going click, clack, click, clack. So I'm also, and I think the panel is this way too, like very eclectic. I think if you focus on one type of music and only one type of music, you're only going to be influenced by a very sort of insular way of thinking, right? But if you allow yourself to just be open to the possibility, very often when I direct a non-Sweet Adelines choir, I will have, like, I'll hear weird sounds in the middle of a song, and I'll tell the singer, do this. Shh, whoop. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, just do it. I don't want to do it. Just try it. And when they do it, there's something that locks in. So, but I think it's because I'm open to hearing things. I listen to rap, I listen to country music, I listen to classical music, I listen to ambient music, I listen to techno, whatever it is, and it like soaks into me, and it comes out. So even with some of the stuff I heard like in the quartet last night, I'm like, oh wow, I'm hearing something. And I also hear other songs weaving in, so I definitely.
That's a perfect segue to our next topic.
Right.
It's perfect because we need to know, because we're in our performance packages in the contest stage and in our communities, we're doing other music. We're doing other genres. What do we need to learn from other styles? How does a barbershop ensemble take that particular vocal production and that performance way and really authentically perform music of other genres and styles? What do we need to be informed about from other styles in our performances?
You might be best to lead that off because we live in this world.
Right.
But we are venturing out into other
Right,
worlds.
and he's already there.
So the first thing that I would say is the concept of rhythm. Barbershop happens within a very orchestral rubato kind of thing. You draw outlines, you emphasize chords, come in and out of tempo, and the concept of a steady tempo is not something that is a necessity in a lot of barbershop. It happens sometimes, But even within that, there's a give and a take, which is fine. Like a string quartet has a give and a take. However, popular music from about the 1930s or 40s forward has had steady drums and rhythm played, as I gave you in my talk, rhythm has played a larger and larger role. People cannot tell if things are out of tune necessarily. In fact, our entire Western tuning is based on a lie and imperfection and compromise, right? So we all, when something's in tune or out of tune, we're really talking more about our own thresholds during tuning. Music judges are actually better at hearing, differences and distinctions. Is it 10 cents out of tune? Is it 12 cents? What bothers you guys? Maybe it's when it gets to be 25 cents out of tune. My point being that there's a lot of focus on that. However, rhythm is something that anybody, even again raised by wolves, is able to hear. We have steady heartbeats, we hear clicks, we can tell if the tempo varies a little bit. And so, when I heard you guys singing Power of Love, I was excited to do vocal percussion, but I also knew if I was up there beatboxing, it would give you a language and a thing to listen to that would help you get more locked into the groove. Because as soon as a measure had more eighth notes in it, that measure got a little longer. And as soon as you had anticipation, you were speeding up slightly, which are all totally fine things within the barbershop genre, but most other styles of music, you need that neck, you need your neck groove.
Well, see, the power of love is not a contest piece of music.
No.
No, but that was the question. The question was, what do we need to do to venture outside of our style as arrangers, right?
Exactly.
Right, so I love what you're saying about, beatbox and rhythm awareness, and I mean, that's just one example of probably many that could help us expand into other genres, doo-wop, or et cetera, I mean, in acapella style.
And as directors, if the repertoire, the performing repertoire of a chorus can be increased so that it includes gospel numbers and jazz numbers and specific numbers that help to educate within the styles of those particular genre, it expands the horizons, the musical horizons of the chorus.
And I know most of you know this, we've taken classical music, very rhythmic, and put parody words to it to do our meaning music theory geek set and things like that. Or when the dummies were flying in Houston, remember that? We did the and I wish then we had some kind of percussive elements and rhythmic elements to that, but we're all headed in that direction.
And you can weave those things into arrangements. A bass line rather than just being doom, 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 doom. And you can take syllables and fricatives and weave them into the syllables in the background, or have lines that are doom, 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 that give you percussive elements within. So it's not like the only option is people singing and someone beatboxing. But our human voice is the most varied, versatile, powerful instrument that exists. And from pretty much all human history, we stood in the front and sung the melody, or had people singing harmony to an all behind us, and then the instruments have done all of the other heavy lifting. But now we're starting to explore instrumental sounds, vocal sounds, weaving together different textures. As arrangers, you can start building on lyrical elements and find the rhythms within those lyrics. An example to get your mind, like, what is he talking about? Think about the Adelines Take a Chance on Me. And the background probably is chance.
Well, we have an arrangement that's prolific out there now, where the arranger took that line, and it's, have you heard it?
And it's perpetual. Well, every acapella arrangement uses that part. But you can do that with other songs. You can build rhythm into your background parts and make steady consistent rhythm or different polyrhythms as much a part of what's going on in the barbershop or in your groups as harmony.
I think when we branch out of the barbershop genre, we need to be familiar with the genre that we're branching out to. And not so much bringing the barbershop to that genre, but bringing ourselves to the genre.
Wow, what a great way to
If it's pop, like if you're singing, I'm arranging a country song right now for somebody, and the melody is, what will I do when you're gone? It's got to have all those little things in it, right? And it's a quartet. If I straighten that out in my arrangement and say, what will I do when you're gone?
Absolutely.
That's bringing the barbershop to the genre, right? And it loses the soul of what it is. It's got to have those floats and wiggles. And if it were for a chorus, and it's not, so this lead is going to be able to countrify it, But if it were for a chorus, Sandy Marin, the director of Lionsgate, she teaches that to the lead section. She gives them a track, And they, as a unit, they pull through those pieces. It can't be so precise when
and
it's
the
not.
tenors need to do the same thing. So it's what will I do? What will I do? Then the top part is what will I do? Like that, you need to all fly in synchronization like the Blue Angels. And the problem is when you put things down on paper, you get those learning parts, and then everybody's singing perfect
Robot.
and the vowels of it. What will I do? Like no.
Yeah.
Choose like sometimes you want to have diphthongs, sometimes you want schwas and lazy vowels because that's where country music comes from.
That can change a song. I hated a song. It was awful, and we had a coach who said, do that, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's so fun, and it sounded so great, just with a little.
Well, here's what I'll do with a big choir. Start with your leads. Have one person who's a lead who's got a really good sensibility, knows that about music. Have them sing that melody line, and then have everybody copy them. Yeah, I mean, of course, but that starts to loosen things up, and then they've got a blueprint they can follow.
And if it's jazz, it's a different style. And if it's Celtic, Martini sings a Celtic song. They have the long big songs and the stillness and all the triads and the unison.
It's so hard to sing while you're bouncing.
Learn something about the style that you're going to so that you can incorporate it.
Well, I just want to prove a point because we put together a mixed group several years ago, highly accomplished barbershop singers, all with quartet gold medals and chorus gold medals, multiple gold everywhere. And we were loving the whole mixed harmony thing, and so we said, okay, real group, here we come, real group. And swingle singers and Singers Unlimited, we were going to do all that stuff, and oh my gosh, all we did was sing everything in the barbershop style, and we were like struggling so much with releasing our barbershop-ness to be able to sing vocal jazz. None of us knew anything about vocal jazz. All of us had been singing barbershop for years and years and years. It was hard.
But you do know it. You do know it. When you're singing pop music, you do know it. Every time you're in an elevator, every time you're grocery shopping, every time you're in somebody else's car, every time you turn on the radio, you are surrounded with popular music. You're surrounded. You know it. And I'm telling classical choral educators this is the same time. Like, well, I didn't study pop music. How am I ever going to teach my singers how to sing the Beatles song? I'm like, well, how many times have you heard the Beatles song? Probably 300 times. You know it. Trust your instincts. And the thing is, once you have a glass of wine and you're singing along with the radio, you're going to do it perfectly, right? You know these things. So it's a matter of relaxing rather than feeling. And the same way you have these classical singers and everything is like, and you're like, no, just sing the pop version. Just have fun and let it go. And part of you is probably going to feel like, well, I'm doing it wrong. I don't have my proper tall vowels and my placement and my phrasing. But it's not wrong. You listen to bluegrass singers who are just sitting in front of a shack and just singing a song, and that's the right way to do it. Yeah, just let go.
I do want to I know you have questions. I want to give our panel members just a second to wrap up if there's something they absolutely wanted to communicate to you, and then we'll have maybe 3 or 4 minutes for your questions. Sound okay? All right. Anybody want to jump in?
I just want to talk about the other handout that's on the website when barbershopness. There's a whole thing about what makes a good arrangement in the music category, and it's very specific about the melody line and the chords and all that sort of thing. So from a music judge's perspective, you can see what I've written there in consultation with several other people about what makes for a strong barbershop arrangement in contest.
Excuse me, is that in the notes for this session?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Without a lot of thought about the question, I mean, I really think we're in a great place. This is my perspective and my how I see it. Well, that's the perspective. I love some of the modifications that we have made in the culture here with the new performance packages and the open divisions, which allows us as arrangers a chance to explore other kinds of styles of arranging other than barbershop. I want to couple it with what Corinna just said, is that we need to, dive into the other kind of styles, other than barbershop, jazz, doo-wop, madrigal singing, all kinds of different vocal acapella styles, to expand our bag of tricks as we put, pen to paper, so to speak, finale or to offer our large community more options that are outside of barbershop, because we really are exploring those elements, and they are on the contest stage. And what I love about it is non-barbershop material in a finals package anywhere is half of the score. It used to be just 10 points. So we have elevated the organization to a place where we reward not only our style that we're preserving and letting evolve and all that, but we are rewarding other styles, and we need to start exploring those as arrangers. I love the fact that we've got whatever committee it is that's going to give us this list of public domain songs, and maybe we need to start exploring arranger showcases and things in the future to get our material there. Chicken or the egg? I know sometimes we arrange for clients, but if they don't know that the things are there, they're not going to ask for it, and they're going to just pick tried and true again. Yeah. That's my kind of wrap up there.
I would get out further. I'd like us to be, easy to say and harder to do, but less fear-based in our choices around content. Just educate yourself on what the music category looks like, and then decide, as an adult artist, whether you want to color in those lines or you want to branch out a little bit around the lines and see what happens. It's not going to be catastrophic. To sing one chord that's not one of the 11, that's not a color word that breaks somebody's heart. It's totally worth it. You'll be rewarded in every category, and probably music too. I mean, Martini sang If Ever I Would Leave You was the final. It was a minor intro and got some unusual features, and we sang it because we related to it emotionally. We wanted to deliver it. We loved the way it soared. It made us feel good, and I think we were 2 or 3 points lower in the music category than we were in the other categories. I mean, at that level, of course, it didn't make that much difference, but it made a little difference, and we didn't care, because we wanted to feel good there, and we wanted to communicate that emotion to the audience. So choose your music that way, and then get an expert to look at it if you're still worried, but don't be afraid to stretch a little. Go for it.
Yeah.
Deke?
A great arrangement is one that makes the audience cry, and your singers almost cry. It's one that makes your audience smile and makes their hearts swell, and all of the rest of this is just grammar, right? And please, when you're arranging, have that as your goal, have that as your thesis, have that as the reason that you're making these artistic choices. That's what they want as well. They want you to change people's lives with the music. And they're giving you the framework within which this happens. But you think about a Bach chorale. He's only got 4 parts. Here's this old folk song he's got to go. He's got the vocal ranges. Everything has to be homophonic, and he creates brilliance within it. All great art happens within constraints, within some kind of boundaries. You absolutely can do so much within those boundaries. So start with the heart.
Yes, we have about 2 minutes, so let's have some questions.
I think one thing, as a newer director, I've been a long-time student at Adeline, I think there's an inherent, we're a little fearful also of contacting arrangers. I think you guys seem kind of scary, like, Jim, no, I think there's an inherent fear that we don't reach out to them because we think you're too busy, or you're too important, or you're too good for us, or you're whatever in what you do. And for the first time as a director now, I had the opportunity a year ago to take a song that I've known for a long, long time that I sang around the fire with a friend of ours, and I loved the song. I thought, God, why is that at barbershop? And I reached out to Joey, who was essentially the sheet music, and every bit of it was fear-based for me. Like, I've never done this. This could suck. I don't know what it's going to be like at all. And she glommed on immediately, and she said, I think it could be great. She took, gave me the steps of what to do. I didn't know what to do. Send me the sheet music. Send it to me. Let me hear what you have in your head. And then she put her initial thoughts down on paper and sent it back to me. And then we went back and forth on Skype and said, oh, I didn't expect you to do that, but tell me why you did, and maybe I'm wrong. I've never felt more invested in the process but I never thought I could do it either. And I think we, as directors or quartet members or individual members of our choruses who have great ideas in their head that are afraid to say them, need to know there is a process. And now it's a song that my chorus is going to compete with that I absolutely love because I had investment from minute one.
Yes.
You know, yeah, it's great to have to do it.
The next class I'm teaching is with Dale Syverson on the director-arranger
I was just gonna say,
collaboration.
It's today.
Robert City. Yes.
I'd like to address, something that you brought up yesterday, please, regarding our concerns with publication. You mentioned a couple of websites that we might, be able to, access.
Absolutely.
Could you?
So the main one is Sheet Music Plus, all one word, sheetmusicplus.com. They have a new program called the Arrange Me program. So you can click on Sheet Music Plus and find the word Arrange Me, or you can even just type in Sheet Music Plus and Arrange Me. And they have, I believe, worldwide rights for over 1,000 songs that are not in the public domain. You can also upload any public domain songs or original songs that you have, and they will sell them on their website for you, Sheet Music Plus. The way it works is you choose small ensemble, you choose the price that you want for the entirety of all the copies that will be made for your arrangement. It has to be a minimum of, I think, $12.99, but you can charge $50, you can charge $250, whatever you want, and you upload a PDF, and then you also put in all of the different categories. So you could put, you know, as well as clicking SSAA or whatever, you would put in female barbershop or an acapella, any other words that you want to put in there, tenor, lead, baritone, bass, whatever keywords that people would search for, and then it's legal and it's for sale, and people can sing and copies can be made. It's only the songs they have there, but that's a nice list of 1,000 pop songs. Don't Stop Believing's on there. You know, like lots of songs that you might consider.
Who's the other one that ended .how?
Oh, acapella.how is just,
Acapella.how.
it's a place to find beatboxing videos and other informational things as a general website.
Yes.
Is it possible to take a song that is in mostly minor mode and make it contestable? Like arrange it so it's contestable? Because minor chords don't, like, they're not in the list of strong chords, but I tend to favor minor songs just as a personal preference, and
We do have lots of examples of medleys that have minor songs as the second song, for example, but the whole song is not minor, because I'll just say barbershop is a happy medium. And major usually fits, especially our uptunes. The ballads can have a lot of color kind of things in them as well. But if you drag us into minor for a very long time, we don't hear a lot of ring in those chords, if that's the predominant chord structure.
Right, and some songs, yeah, I like How Deep Is the Ocean, where a verse is in major, is in minor, but the verse is major, but the refrain is in minor.
Chorus is in minor.
Right. All the things you are, roses of Picardy,
But if most of the song is in minor, basically just don't do that.
Well, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be hard to ring, but yeah, for competition, but that doesn't mean you can't go into repertoire in an open edition or performance package. Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it. Arrangement inspires you in the group. That's what matters most.
It just, so it could be a repertoire song, but it would not be contestable.
Probably not.
Something that concerns me quite often now is that directors and quartets, whatever, are choosing male arrangers. Sometimes I think for variety, and they want those arrangements which have pop and they have a lot of key changes and interesting chords, and they have a wow factor. And aren't necessarily good for the female voices the way they're
Well, don't blanket all male arrangers together.
Yeah. No, there are exceptions, such as yourself, Jim. But what I'm saying is that looking at the contests for the last international and regional contests, I did a cursory survey with it, and there were between 60 and 70% being sung with the male arrangers. And our female arrangers need to be making sales, making material that people are going to use. We have a lot of material that's just not being used. the male arrangements aren't necessarily best for the chorus. And I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yes, let me just add to that, gender, no difference here in what I'm about to
It's the
say.
way that it's put together.
Your decision has to be, does this arrangement showcase my singer's abilities, or does it showcase itself? And in the music category, we can see some arrangements that showcase the arranger and the arrangement, and shows all of the stuff that we can do, rather than working toward the best capabilities of my vocal instrument.
And it also needs to showcase the differences between the male and the female anatomy vocally.
Yeah.
I mean, where register breaks and passagios occur are different between men and women, and there are female arrangers who, or let's say it this way, the inverse can happen too. A well-constructed arrangement for the female voices might not be the best one to show off those voices when it's a male group, and vice versa.
But more often, what they're doing is just putting into that fourth higher, and, you know.
Right, and baritone lives above the melody too much, and blah, 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 and it puts all of us right in our passaggio.
And the ranges are difficult. There are a lot of things, but what I'm most concerned about is the fact that our female arrangers are not being, they're not buying our material because they think male arrangements somehow are going to be better. And I'm not sure why. That it could be that male arrangers are putting more out there. I don't know, but 60 to 70% are being chosen by.
I don't think that it's about choosing male, no,
It's
I
like
think
three
you're
arrangements.
choosing what you've heard, yeah. They're changing
Aaron
Aaron
Taylor,
Taylor,
right, and Clay Hines.